Hi everyone, Caoimhin here from CIT's Blackrock Castle Observatory. For this video, we are going to be taking a look into the morning sky, nice and early in the morning, around 5:15. And as you might be able to tell from this lovely glow on the left-hand side of the screen, we will be looking at the sky from the countryside. This is the glow of the Milky Way, not something we get to see in the city. So if you are stuck in the city like I am, you'll be able to see the glow of the Milky Way in this video. And if you are enjoying our videos, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button to make sure you get our notifications. Not only will this tell you when we post our next Planetarium video, but it will warn you when our live streams are coming up in case you would like to join in with those and ask questions of myself or our other presenters. So we're starting looking into the south, and you can tell you're looking into the south into the morning thanks to this lovely reddish orange star Antares and the constellation of Scorpius here around it. So we did mention Scorpius here and the constellation of Sagittarius just on the other side of the Milky Way center. We mentioned those in a previous video. That's also where we talked more about Jupiter, Saturn and Mars. We discussed them in the video that we posted last Friday, but as you can see here, they are still visible this week and this weekend. We want to look in between the teapot shape and this lovely shape of Scorpius in order to see the core or the nucleus of our galaxy. That's the center, and it's also where our galaxy is at its thickest, its widest, its densest. In this core here is a supermassive black hole, and its gravity holds the stars and gas clouds orbiting around it. There's a lot more space for stars in the 75,000 light years between us and the center. As we move towards the edge of our galaxy, we'll start seeing fewer and fewer stars. So we're coming up towards the back of the galaxy in the north here. We've got our W shape of Cassiopeia, and just next to the Milky Way, the faint glow of Andromeda. We can see the Milky Way back here is a lot thinner and a lot fainter. That's because there is only about 25,000 light years between us and the edge of our galaxy, so there's a lot less space for stars. Furthermore, the stars in the center of our galaxy, they're much more densely packed together. If we start taking a closer look, just here is the Sagittarius star field. It's a very dense collection of stars near the center of our galaxy, and we see many of these dense collections of stars as we near the center of the Milky Way. But there are some dense collections of stars outside the Milky Way as well, between us and other galaxies. So we're going to take a look into the constellation of Scorpius. We're not looking at the lovely nebulosity around Antares. You can learn a little more about nebulosity in our earlier video from today. We're looking just here past the star Antares. So Antares here is a little bit closer to us than this ball of stars, and it really is a ball of stars. This is a globular cluster. It's the Crab globular cluster. That's a little bit difficult to read. If I zoom back out, you might see it a bit better. There we go. That's the Crab globular cluster. And a globular cluster is a ball of stars, a globule of stars. And we find these orbiting around the outside of galaxies. We can see here, it's a little tough to see on the Crab globular cluster, but if we look at the Flickering globular cluster, the symbol is this little circle with a cross going through the center. And if we take a closer look at the Flickering globular cluster, well, it's a globular cluster as well, this big ball, this globule of stars. These globular clusters, we see a lot more of them near the center of our galaxy. We can see a lot of them here. We see fewer of them as we look towards the edge of our galaxy, and this is because the center of our galaxy is the densest, it has the most mass, it has the strongest pull of gravity. So these globular clusters will often end up closer to the center. Looking out towards the edge, we can still see plenty of nebulae, plenty of galaxies like Andromeda, but we're seeing a lot fewer of those globular clusters, almost none of them visible here. By looking at the amount of globular clusters that were visible towards the center of our galaxy, which is, as you can see, quite a lot, and comparing it to the amount we could see looking at the edge of our galaxy, an astronomer named Harlow Shapley was able to figure out that we were closer to the edge than the center, and that's how we know roughly the distance between us and the center of our galaxy compared to the distance between us and the edge. We'll take a look at another globular cluster here, the Great Sagittarius Cluster. Clusters vary a little in how dense they are and how many of the stars you can see. So we can see here in Sagittarius there's quite a few nice bright stars with many smaller, fainter stars around it. In some of these globular clusters, it's almost impossible to tell where the stars are in the center. It almost blends together. There's the Tadpole Cluster, which is certainly a lovely name. Not one of the easier clusters to see. We're going to take a closer look at another cluster a little further out. Here's the Ghost Globular Cluster. And if we take a closer look at this one here, yeah, the center is almost all blurred together. It's really hard to tell where one star starts and another star ends. Some globular clusters are woven a little bit closer together, others are a little bit looser, and thinking of them as threads weaving together is a nice way to imagine it. Globular clusters form as stars at the edge of a galaxy start to pull together and orbit around the galaxy as a group. So it is a little similar to the little baubles, the little round pieces of fluff that sometimes build up on our woolen cardigans. As threads in our cardigans make their way to the edge, they'll start to wrap up with each other instead of the full weave of our clothes, and that causes them to form their own little ball on the outside. Very similar to how we see globular clusters forming around the outside of a galaxy. We're after pushing up to about 6 o'clock in the morning now. We're still very much in the depths of the countryside, plenty of stars visible, but the glow of the Milky Way has gotten very faint because the sun is starting to rise over there in the east, and that will push the glow of our galaxy out of our view. But even if you are looking at the stars here in the city, let's pop back into the city here. If you can see that reddish orange star Antares, you can still point a telescope not directly at it, but next to it to see that Crab globular cluster. We can see some distinct stars there near the center, and you can also aim your telescope just a little bit higher than the point of the teapot-shaped Sagittarius, and that will help you find the Sagittarius star cluster. And through a telescope, that is still a very dense field of stars. So I hope you get a chance to see a few of those objects tomorrow morning, including the planets. I didn't say much about them in this video, but I hope you get a chance to see them, and I hope you'll join us for our future videos as well. Thank you.